Hello and welcome to Broken Arrow Beads. Today I'm going to try to demonstrate to you how to do a wrapped cord doing peyote stitch. So I've already strung up my beads and I want to have a row of 8 around my cord. So in order to begin the peyote stitch, I need to string up 9 beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I know it's going to be a circumference of 8, but I needed 9 because what's going to happen is I'm going to start creating the first row with these 2 beads. So I'm going to not pick up a bead and I'm going to skip these 2 and go into the 3rd one. So I'm not going to start my wrapping the beads around the cord on the initial row because I find I just get a little confused. It's easier for me to do it this way. So now what I want to do is, with my pattern, I'm just going to turn it upside down. And I want these beads, the next 4 beads that I'm going to add, to be red, because that will be the next row. So I'm going to add some red beads. Now this is just the base peyote stitch, and it's, if I were to keep going, it'd be flat peyote stitch. And I'm going to keep it, try to keep my thread from bunching up. Now when I tug on the string, what it does is it forces the beads to start forming the first few rows of the peyote. Continue adding my red, skipping every other bead. And what I want to do is make sure that I end up with only 1 bead at the top. There we go. So now you can see that I have 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So I want to end up with 1 bead at the top, and now what I'm going to do is start wrapping it around my rope here. And I'm going to take my needle and pull it through this red bead. Now pull it nice and tight to make sure that I've got it. So I'm going to put this down here and pull it nice and tight. Okay, so now what's happening is I'm just pulling the beads, and I still have the 2, 1. Now this is where it gets kind of clumsy feeling. So now, to keep with the pattern that I've started on this sample here, the next color I'm going to pick is orange. Okay, so I'm going to pick orange next, and this will be the next row. Now I'm going to bead around, and then when I get to the end of the row, I'm going to show you how to start the next row. So I'm just going to go into every bead that's peaked. So go through every red bead, because all the red beads are just a little bit higher, and that's the next row. So I'm picking orange. And I hope you could see my work here. so that's okay. So I'm just going to put my needle through there and pull that red bead up. Keep pulling on my work. The first few rows always feel for me a little bit clumsy, but the further on I go up, the more tighter the work becomes, and it just flows a lot easier. Okay, so now I'm at the last bead of this row. So I noticed that the next bead that's high is the orange bead. I don't want to go through that one, because what's going to happen is I'll miss this section here, and it'll just create a like the beads won't be in rows. So what I want to do is go through the red bead, because I'm going through each red bead. So I'm just going to push my needle through the red bead first. And then what's happened is when you pull your work tight, you're going to see that the orange beads are the next beads that I want to go through. However, if you look at where I ended up with this red, I'm right beside this orange. Now if I were just to pick up the next color or the next bead, it would push these beads aside and add an extra bead, and that's where I would always run into trouble with my patterns or the count of beads. So I'm just going to check and make sure that each bead has a partner for this first few rows. So there should be 2 beads for each bead. So 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Perfect. So now I have to remember that I just want to take my needle and thread and go through this orange bead without picking up a bead, because this will be the beginning of the next row. Now for the next row, I'm going to pick up a yellow bead. Okay, so now I've gone through that. Now I'm going to go right around and go through each orange bead, because they're the next bead that are sitting up a little bit higher, a little bit sticking out a bit more. So that's 1. Oh, pick up yellow. And sometimes I pick up a wrong color bead and it kind of messes up the pattern, but that's okay. Sometimes I don't notice it right away, and I'm halfway through and I see a where I picked up a different color. So I got a yellow, go through the orange, pick up a yellow, and go through the orange one. Now I want to keep tugging at my work just to make sure that it's nice and tight, and that the tighter it is, the easier it is to work with. But then you don't want it so tight that you can't put your needle through. So there's that fine balance. Okay, so I have 3 yellow. Now I'm at the end or the beginning, whichever you want to say. I'm going to pick up a yellow bead, and we want to go through the orange bead. I'm going to go through the orange bead. And now that I've gone through the orange bead, you can see how the yellow beads are the next beads I want to go through. Now I'm going to go not pick up a bead, because this is the beginning of the next row. Go through the yellow one, and then I'm going to pick up a white bead. So you could see the pattern. If you count, there should be 8 rows again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there should be alternating 3 beads, 2 beads, 3 beads, 2 beads. Now I'm going to keep going and I'm going to show you, I'm picking up the white beads now. I'm going to go through each yellow one. Keep going through the yellow one. Pull my work. As you go further up and more rows are added, the work will begin to be more uniform and nice. So, and I just want to, now that I'm getting a few more rows, I just want to pull back just a little bit, because that will help the beads to form a nice even rows. White. So now we're going through the yellow bead still. So I'm going to go through that. And see how nice and neat that is? You got your 4 beads sticking up, 4 white beads. I'm not going to pick up a bead, so I'm going to go through the white one because that's the next row. There we go. So the trick is, when you get to the end of the row, go through the same color of bead and then go through the next bead that you just added without adding a bead. Now for the next color, I'm going to choose a light blue. So now I'm going to go around. I'll show you one more time here. I picked up a blue. Now I'm going to go through each white one. I'm going to go 3 times, and on the 4th bead I'm going to still go through the white bead, then go through the next bead without adding a bead, if that makes sense. So that's 2, 3, still going through the white, 4. Now I can feel my work already getting tighter. Then I'm going to go through the blue bead of the last row I just did, and then I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do a few more rows and show you how my work is coming along. Okay, so I'm at my last bead for this row, and I'm just going to show you again how to add the last bead of that row that you're on. So I've already strung my red bead on it, and I'm just going to go through the orange because I've gone through the orange all around, and just go through the orange first. Pull your thread through. There we go. Now, again, the biggest thing that that I needed to remember is to go through, now that I've gone through this orange, I need to go through the next bead without adding a bead. So that will be the beginning of the next row. The important thing is to remember that when you come around and you go through the last orange bead, or whatever bead it is, that you have to go through the 2 beads. And at this point is, you can change your color at this point or start a new pattern. And if you decide to set your work down and go do something and then come back to it, what helps me to remember where I'm at is if I go through these last 2 and then set my work down. This way, if I go away, I come back, all I need to do is just start adding the beads. So this is what's happening with the pattern. I just decided to put the beads on like this. I don't have a design that I'm following. Yeah, and then if you look at the top, you could see there's going to be 8 beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that makes a circumference, and no extra beads have been added. And I didn't drop any beads, and so far I like how it's coming along. Well, thank you for watching, and thank you to all the subscribers and for liking my videos. Have fun beading.